Darling, forever I would trade it for your love, your joy, forever.
Phone poppy, yeah, she call me Young Poppy. That's my little shawty. She get thicky in them body. She got hottie toddy when she make it wet for me. Got that body on you, girl. You know I wanna play some hide and seek. You're someone that I wanna meet. You're someone that I wanna see. You're someone that I wanna see. And I got every idea in mind to get you poppin'. She said she just wants some liquor, so just stop it. I don't pop no pills or do none of that extra. I be chillin', smoking ganja with my niggas. I got so much, so many dreams, so many things to hold up. So many things on my mind. So many things to let shine.
Welcome to Unrestricted Free Agent. This is the podcast for you if you're a basketball purist. This podcast is for the people with love and respect for the game in all its forms. I'm your host, Jonathan Ojo. If you don't know me, local kid, went to Suncoast High School down here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We're also shooting in Jupiter, Florida at the beautiful Perseverance Gym. Shout out to Coach Nate for letting me use the gym. Got a chance to play collegiately at Webster University. They got the chance to play for a little stint overseas at Coupe RBA in Costa Rica. And so now I'm in the coaching and player development business. So this is just my chance to kind of give back to the game and talk to you, as well as the brilliant and decorated guests that we have lined up for you guys, and show you guys kind of what we've learned over the course of our playing experience, and kind of give you guys some little tidbits and things, you know, that we may have done differently, things that we see now, the way the game is evolving and changing, and just kind of give you a breakdown of what this episode is going to be about. It's going to be an intro. We're going to set the stage for the whole season, what's to come. We're going to go through kind of the rules of the podcast, kind of little fun things that we have planned, and some of the guests that we have in store for you guys. So just kind of going right into it. This podcast was thought of, you know, by me, just had some things on my mind, just some things I had to go into. Is for the former athlete, the current athlete, the former pro, current pro, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the G League, whether it's overseas. This podcast is kind of for you. We feel like if you're an athlete at a high level, you deserve to be recognized. I think that we so often throw out the stats of, you know, players who make it percentage-wise, whether it's to college, or, you know, less than 1%. The ones who make it to the NBA, less than 1%. The ones who make it overseas, and less or often do we kind of celebrate the ones who kind of got there, whether they fell short of their goal, whether they went, you know, as far as college, whether they stopped, whether their NBA dream got cut short. You know, I feel like we don't talk about it as much. And I feel like instead of talking about it the way we should, we kind of joke about it. And I think that's why this is also a mental health podcast, because we go into, like I said, the percentages of the people who don't make it. But when I think about it, you know, take a step back, I feel like especially as us black men, that's our first career failure. I think for a lot of the kids who grew up in the inner cities and in the rural youth, you know, they're told NBA, NFL are bust, you know, sports are bust. And I feel like that mindset kind of drives them and keeps them focused, keeps them on track. But we don't talk about what happens when, you know, they fall short of their goal. I know a lot of players who, even this past year, I think it's at an interesting time with COVID and everything like that overseas. You know, overseas was drying up. I think about the players who got hurt, they were sent back, and they finally got to see, you know, the business side of basketball, just how it's more a business than a sport. I feel like when you're in high school, even sometimes when you're in college, you play for fun, you play for love of the game. But I feel like, you know, high level college and overseas, you know, you realize that it's a business. The fun kind of gets taken out of it. And so I feel like this is kind of a part in a podcast where you can kind of brag on yourself. You can kind of have fun with it. We can reminisce in a healthy way. We can also use the tools and the network that the basketball community has to offer to kind of show us what's next. You know, I feel like, and I have a lot of respect for the players who play at a high level, and whether or not they stop playing, whether or not they're still playing, whether or not they're in between, you know, they found their niche somewhere else, whether it was in business, entrepreneurship, whether it was, for example, be with coaching, player development, whether it was something completely on the opposite end of basketball. You know, I feel like those are stories that we kind of need to support. And for those who are in limbo, I feel like it's a great tool for you guys, because this podcast is a resource to help you kind of find your feet, find your rhythm, and maybe decide what you want to do next. I think that's where it will be used, and I hope that you guys can go along this journey with me. I appreciate you guys because, you know, obviously this is my first podcast, so I feel like as viewers, you guys will grow with me, and I'll grow as a podcaster. Look forward to my co-host, Mr. Big Shot Bot. He's going to provide a lot of basketball insight. We're kind of on the same path and the same trajectory, which is why I thought he was perfect for this. So stay tuned. We have an exciting first season for you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you guys are along for the ride. So we have a few rules on this show on Unrestricted Free Agent. It's going to help us go smooth and help our guests and help us have the best time that we can. Rule number 1, this is the most important rule. If you don't gas yourself up, we will. I think it's important. The point of this podcast is, like I said, reminisce in a healthy way. We can call it humble bragging, if you will, but there's nothing humble about this podcast. I want you to talk your mess, say it like you mean it, say everything that you want to say. Like I said, we're going to roll a lot of the players' highlights, so if you don't think that they're good, we'll show you in the first place. But when you come on here, don't hold back. I want you to gas yourself up, like I said, or we'll do it. And you might not like it if we do it, because we're going to try to embarrass you in that aspect. So then that's the first rule. Rule number 2 is do not incriminate yourself. I have a lot of guests that I'm going to have on with some decorated past, to say the least. So it doesn't matter what you were doing outside of basketball. It doesn't matter what you were doing to make ends meet. This is a no judgment zone. We don't play Fed games, so that's the most important thing also. So don't incriminate yourself, because all you're going to hear is me say, and we're going to have to cut the tape. And so we don't want that. Rule number 3 is don't have a filter. I don't want you to come out here trying to be politically correct. That's not the point of this podcast. This podcast is for you to speak freely, speak your mind, say whatever, call it impulse control. Obviously, we're staying away from sensitive topics and don't talk about things you don't know about. We don't want to sound insensitive or anything like that. But please speak your mind and say whatever you feel. And then the last rule, this is kind of the most important rule. This rule goes along when you're talking and speaking about yourself proudly. If you slander someone's name, whether it's a competition, whether you just don't like them, we're going to talk a lot about the NBA and players you played against and things like that. And who knows, they might be watching it. So the last rule is if you slander someone's name for any reason in any way, you have to follow it up with something nice to say about them, just to kind of reinforce positivity. The Tyler's podcast in episode 1 is Showing Love is Free. So no matter how you feel about them, whether you cooked them in high school or in college or whatever it was, after, you got to say something positive about them. It could be as simple as, where that guy works hard, or that guy gave me the most trouble I've ever had on defense, or whatever it is. But you always got to, say something positive to kind of show love back. And another important fact that we're going to mention on Unrestricted Free Agent is the fact that every single episode, if you're tuning in, that we're going to wear an article of clothing from a friend or a local clothing line, kind of just to show love and give them a chance, kind of to shout them out and tell you what they're doing, in case anybody out there wants to buy something from them, or if anybody out there just likes, what's going on. So for example, right here, this is a shirt from my friend Terrence Bus at Runway. And for example, he's doing 1 billion amazing things. He's actually helping my mom's nonprofit. And so that's just a good example of just, wearing somebody's clothing. Somebody might be like, where'd you get that shirt from? Or that looks dope or whatever. We'll always tag them in the comments and on the social media page and be shouting them out. So if anybody has any clothing they would want us to, wear, or to give us any promo or anything like that, you can just message us on social media, and we'd love to have it, rock your stuff, and get your name out there as well as ours.
Extra. I be chillin', smoking ganja with my niggas. I got so much, so many dreams, so many things to hold up. So many things on my mind. So many things, so let's shine.
And now to our sponsor message. Can't do it without the sponsors. Obviously, we don't have that much. We're just starting off. But this will be a time where we kind of shout out the people who've helped us along the way and given us, opportunity. And so today's sponsor for this beautiful gym, this backdrop, you see the branding everywhere for Perseverance Basketball. A good friend of mine, Coach Nate, who's doing amazing things in South Florida. This is his gym that, he built, got it modeled, remodeled, did amazing things, doing a lot for the community itself. And for the basketball scene in South Florida. So if you guys need training, gym time, whatever it is, team needs, personal training, youth clinics, everything like that, please go to perseverancebasketball.com. Shout out to Coach Nate. He'll get you right. Tell him that Jonathan sent you, and I'm sure he'll take care of you. Thank you again, Coach Nate. We appreciate you a lot. We're going to open this up and open the floor up, and I'm interested to see you guys' opinions. But we're just going to talk about kind of, a big misconception in athletes, I think. Well, 2 things. One is just the mental health aspect. I think that's been so much more on the open stage as of late. I think about the Olympics. I think about just the NBA season, just the lockdown, everything like that. And just how that influences, the public's view of athletes, and then for people who are athletes, how that influences, how we're viewed and how we think about the world. Because I know that's easy for us, when we're playing competition. I still remember, when I was in school, during, the Ferguson riots, and, when I took a knee and how that affected, life on the court. And just, I feel like as athletes, we're told one thing, how we're supposed to just play. I wasn't, I didn't play in the NBA, but I know they talk about a lot of NBA players, and they say, you're paid millions of dollars to do one thing. And so you kind of get dehumanized, and that you're not allowed to do that other thing anymore. So, if I'm LeBron James, then I can no longer be an average, citizen. I shouldn't care about politics. I shouldn't, care about having fun. I shouldn't care about my family and, the roles. I definitely shouldn't care about social justice issues. And I think, that's ridiculous. And I think, that's a big topic that needs to be explored. I'm interested to see the other athletes' opinions who play at a higher level and did different things, kind of that's important to me. The next topic that we're going to kind of dive into is the misconception of, people who stop playing competitively, or those who, like I said, they didn't make their goals, they didn't make it to the NBA, or they played overseas, found out it wasn't for them. And I think the misconception in that is always, that they lost their love for the game of basketball. And I kind of just laugh, and I feel like it's interesting because, I think about, my career and how I played, and I feel like I love the game of basketball and have more respect for it now than I ever did when I was playing. And, half of me is like, dang, I wish I could have, care about it as much back then, which I still had an amazing and tremendous amount of respect for the game. But I even think about it now and just think, I'm sure nobody who stopped playing, even think about, the people who played in the NBA and they're analysts now, I don't think they love the game any less, respect the game any less. But again, going back to kind of the mental health aspect of it, I think that a lot of people are kind of, made fun of as if, basketball stopped being fun. Or I think about, like I said, my friends who played overseas and they came home and whatever it was, societal factors, they just couldn't focus on the game anymore. And I think, we need to stop kind of the stigma that if they stop playing, they don't care about the game anymore. It wasn't fun for them anymore. And I think there is aspects and situations where basketball stops being fun. Like I said earlier, I feel like there's a point in time, and that's another thing we're going to dive into this season, where basketball stops being, recreational and becomes a job. And I think that's important because I think we have to make that switch in our minds, and the players who get it and it clicks, it goes a lot faster for them. And those who kind of don't make that switch, it's a lot harder for them to adjust. So like I said, this is where, mental health meets sports. It's a very important topic to dive into. I think that, deserves much thought. I'm actually interested this season. I wanted to kind of bring, a mental health expert on here to kind of join into the interview process to see how they see it. Maybe a sports psychologist, something like that. Because like I said, I'm no mental health expert. I can only speak from my experience and how I feel about things. But I've been around a lot of basketball. I've been around a lot of people. And seeing how they feel about it, seeing where they're at with it. I have some friends who, just recently stopped playing. I have some friends who stopped playing a long time ago. I have some friends who, they graduated 5 years ago, and the last 5 years they've been able to focus on, basketball, nothing but basketball, never had to punch a clock, never had to work a job. And I think about how fortunate they are. But I think about the other people, who didn't have that luxury, who weren't as fortunate. And people kind of look at them and it's almost like, well, there's always a reason to why they didn't make it. But I think about it, and I think I know so many more people, that aren't in the league right now who are more talented than a lot of NBA players I've seen play. I've seen a lot of NBA players play. And I think, people might think I'm bluffing, but I know if you play at a high level, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Most of the players that are good don't make it to the league. Most of the players that are good, don't have long careers overseas. And again, we can, throw whatever statistics we want out there. We can blame whoever we want out there. But if you know these people on a personal level, you know their lives, you realize that's a lot deeper than that. And so that's where I think this comes into play. I think that deserves some look and some insight as well. Whether life came at you fast, let's say you stopped, you had a kid, things became real very fast for you. Let's say, you had to stop, you had the family support. I think about my family, all the hoops I have to jump through for them. And, even when I just graduated college, my teammates and my roommates will tell you that immediately. There was never a grace period. There was never a time where you can kind of stop and just, decompress and think, what, let me just focus on what's next. Let me just, get into this next gear and train all this stuff. It was no, you have to provide for yourself. Bills came quick. It was never, staying with your parents. My parents aren't in the country right now. They moved out the country when I graduated high school. So that was never an option for me either. And again, I feel like people tell their stories not for sympathy or anything like that. That's the last thing I want. I could care less about it. But just to show you that, this is real life. I feel like we kind of make the game a game, and basketball is a game meant to be enjoyed. but basketball's not the only focal point of, people's lives. And I think that's where it kind of comes into play, and that's where, we need to kind of dive into it, because there might be some people out there who are struggling to make that switch. I know some people out there who never made it to the league, and of course I won't name drop, as we said, like we don't, discredit anybody like that, but I know a lot of people, and if you're from South Florida, I mean, I could say over 10 names, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that either they made it there and had a fall from grace, whatever it could be. Most of it, I would say, was mental health, or, they never made it and they never mentally recovered. And whether they're in limbo right now, don't know what they want to do, but you can always tell those kind of things. I think it's easy for you to see them, kind of wandering aimlessly, and either they're trying to get back there, or they wake up one day and realize, the 9-to-5 life isn't for them, which I 100% agree. Please disband the 40-hour work week. But either way, either then it's too late for them and they never come back, or they just spend their whole life chasing, that dream and that feeling again. And that's just such a miserable way to live sometimes. I feel like there's so much more to life, but I feel like without the proper resources and support, I think that's the biggest thing, the support, that it's going to be hard to get back there. And like I said, I'm so grateful for, my circle and the people I had around me. I feel like it's been easy for me to transition to everything I want to do in life. Even just this, and podcasting is something I never even thought I'd be doing. I remember I even pitched this idea, just 2 years ago, just the amount of support I got, the amount of people who were on board and said, you need to do that. And it was just ultimately a matter of me kind of taking it seriously and realizing, oh yeah, I need to do this. But even with, those people who, had the millions amount of support when they were playing, and then when they stopped playing, it's kind of like it disappeared. And that's a real thing too. And so surrounding yourself with the right people, what you have to do, having a healthy support system, those who align with your goals in your future. I think about, my college days, my high school days, and my closest friends, like we're still just as close now. And for most of us, we grew even closer. But again, I think about the people who might not have had that, the people who might not have had that camaraderie that came from sports, and the amazing thing that came with that. So like I said, this is kind of just a reminisce in a healthy way. We hope that you guys get something from it. And whatever you plan to do, whether it's outside of sports, inside of sports, whether you're still playing, whether you're not playing, I feel like for those who've given so much to the game of basketball, football, whatever you've played, I feel like as a community, it's time for us to kind of start giving back. We're super excited for season 1. We hope you're excited too. Please make sure to follow social media handles at Instagram. It is unrestricted FA_pod, and our Twitter is unrestricted FA1. We have an amazing season 1 for you guys. The topic of this one is local love. So we have a lot of local players, a lot of local legends with decorated careers, like I said, NBA, overseas, high-level college. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We want this to be a resource for you guys as well. So we can talk about everything from, recruiting advice to, starting a business venture, whatever it may be. We're by no means experts, but we kind of want to undertake the journey with you. We'll always try to figure it out with you. So whatever questions you have, for every guest, we're probably gonna have something that we're gonna talk about. And so we hope that, every episode that somebody out there somewhere can take something from it and apply it to their own life, or that it helps somebody. If we did this and had 10 episodes for season 1, if that can impact 10 people, then that'd be a success. We're always gonna leave you with a call to action or something that we want you to do, kind of just to let us know you've been paying attention and that you got something from this podcast. So this week, our call to action is for you to kind of just go out, show love, donate of your time, donate of your money, whatever it is. And then if you can tag us in the post, like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is, and show us that you're out there showing love, because you'll receive it tenfold. So every week it'll be something different. One week it might be to go volunteer. One week you might have an opportunity for you to do something. One week it might be a giveaway. That's why we're going to try to partner with a lot of people, a lot of brands, and give you guys some incentive to do it. But either way, you should be doing it on your own time. So that's just us kind of motivating you to do what you already should be doing.
Phone poppy, yeah, she call me Young Poppy. That's my little shawty. She get thicky in the body. She got hottie toddy when she make it wet for me. Got that body on you, girl. You know I wanna play some hide and seek. You're someone that I wanna meet. You're someone that I wanna see. You're someone that I wanna see. And I got every idea in mind to get you poppin'. She said she just wants some liquor, so just stop it. I don't pop no pills.